Hello friends, I am back with another video related to the robust methodology for business process improvement, which is popularly known as Lean Six Sigma. This time the topic is hypothesis testing. Friends, we must understand the thing that this is a very powerful tool in Lean Six Sigma, which is not only practiced in Lean Six Sigma but also in data analytics and decision science. You must be knowing, if you have seen my last video on DMake, that hypothesis testing is used during the analyze phase. Please recall the problem statement y is equal to fx, where y is a dependent variable known as response or output of the process, and x is known as an input or factor of the process. These x factors are called as potential factors till the time these are not validated. And here comes the role of hypothesis testing. This hypothesis testing validates the potential factors and tells us the real critical factors. These real critical factors are responsible for the Y measure. Y measure means the output of the process, the response which the process is throwing on us in any business scenario. These are the broad steps which we may put it down like this. The first thing is there is a relationship between y and x, which we must know. Here we must understand that x is potential factor. These may be, it may be one or many. So these factors are independent variables and these are impacting my y measure. So we must know that there is a relationship. Initially we just understand that these are some potential factors which are impacting my y measure, which is the response of the process. The next step is collecting the data pertaining to y and x. So this is a sample data collection plan where we make a plan of collecting the data, how and when and how much data we need to collect depending upon the type of result I want from my hypothesis testing. So this is a very critical step where we collect the data. And next comes the hypothesis testing. We do the hypothesis testing based on the y measure, based on the x factors, and based on the results which I want from my hypothesis testing. We do a hypothesis testing. These are different tools available. We will be discussing about it in the next slides. And once my hypothesis testing is over, I get the critical access on board, that these are the real culprits, these are the real factors which are impacting my y measure. So that the business analyst, the professionals may take the decision on these critical access. There are n number of independent potential factors in front of them while solving any problem. But to single out the critical factors out of these potential factors is a real challenge. Which are the critical ones? How to identify them? Let's discuss one example pertaining to the similar situation. Suppose we have two suppliers and we want to select the better one for its delivery time. So how we are going to do that? So here the data related to delivery time must be available with us for going ahead. In this scenario, there may be three situations present in front of us, and these are: if population data is available Then we may slice, dice and visualize the data, and we may realize or we may understand about the critical factors, which are the critical things impacting my response. So there is simple slice, dice and visualize type of tool we can use. There are readily available tools in the market like Tableau, ClickView, Power BI, etc., which may be utilized for doing this activity on population data. But suppose population data is not available and we have only sample data. So in that case, we do hypothesis testing. So this testing is only applicable when we have only sample data, and based on the sample data, we want to predict my population data. So this hypothesis testing is used in cases where only sample data is available, because in certain scenarios the population is very large and we can't check each data point in the population. So what we do, we take out some samples randomly from the population and we do hypothesis testing on that population, and based on the result we predict our population, which are the X factors responsible for Y measure in my population. So this is called the hypothesis testing. Suppose in case we have no data, there is no data available on the X factors. So we don't know which are the X factors and what is the data related to those factors, neither sample data nor population data. We just know that there are certain factors which may impact my Y measure. So in that case, there is a tool called design of experiments, and under that design of experiments there is a method available where screening of factors may be done, which tells us about the critical factors, and we can single out the real critical factors from the DOE. There is an interesting example we may discuss here, and people use it in real life also. In case of pizza, we all eat pizza. So how the taste difference we can see, we can measure the difference between two brand of pizzas. So here what we do, we take sample data for both the brands and then we do hypothesis testing on those data points. Those are sample data points, and based on the output, the result of hypothesis testing, we predict that the population behavior is like this. The one brand is better than the other brand. So this is all possible based on the sample data. Maybe today there are a lot of brands are keeping track of population data also. So in case we have population data, then there is no need to go for hypothesis testing. Simply we can slice, dice and visualize the whole population data. Normally there are people, there are brands which are keeping track of each and every customer, what are the taste rating people are giving. So if that is a genuine data, then we can use the population data also for predicting the factors and predicting the behavior of the whole population based on the population data. But if that is not available, then we have to go a sample method and we do hypothesis testing to understand the which brand is better than the among the two brands or three brands or maybe more brands. So then we use the tool called hypothesis testing for that. There are 4 key things related to hypothesis testing which are very important and we must understand these four things, and we must keep it in our mind always that these four things are very, very essential, and we must understand them clearly before moving ahead for hypothesis testing. And these are null hypothesis, alternate hypothesis, type 1 error, and type 2 error. The null hypothesis is a hypothesis of equality. We assume that, suppose in case of pizza delivery, this two brands of pizza, both pizza taste equally, both rank equally. So this is the null hypothesis. We assume in the beginning that both are equal. So null hypothesis is also called the hypothesis of equality. The alternate hypothesis is hypothesis of difference. We say that the one brand of pizza is differing in taste with another brand. Maybe brand A is better than the brand B. So this is called the hypothesis of difference. It is an alternate hypothesis. So always in hypothesis testing there are two hypotheses. First one is null hypothesis. It is the hypothesis of equality, and the second is alternate hypothesis. This is the hypothesis of difference. Now we come to errors. There are two types of error in any hypothesis testing, and these are type 1 error and type 2 error. Type 1 error is an error type which happens when the null hypothesis is true but we reject it and we go with the alternate hypothesis. This is also called false positive. In a sense, we can say an innocent is sent to jail. Means my null hypothesis was true, but I went ahead with the alternate hypothesis. Why we are saying here an innocent is sent to jail? Because normally in any police case we assume that the person is an innocent person. He only goes jail when we assume that he's a guilty. So that means we are going with the alternate hypothesis. That means we are treating him as guilty. That means an innocent person is sent to jail. That means we have rejected the null hypothesis. We are rejecting that he is an innocent person and we are going with alternate. So this may be a error type which may happen during the hypothesis testing, and the probability which is related to this type 1 error, the probability of making type 1 error is called alpha. So this alpha is our significance level. This significance level is very, very important in hypothesis testing, because the result, when we declare the result, it all depends on the significance level. And when we do a mathematical calculation of 1 minus alpha is called the confidence level. So confidence, you can see that by its name it is clear that it is giving the confidence that what is the probability of having the correct result in my hand. Here is one important thing in the type 1 error, that it is called a manufacturer risk also, because when there is no difference, when there is equality is there and we are saying that it is not equal, that means we are going with alternate hypothesis. That means the manufacturer is not able to distinguish between equal and unequal, and if those parts are equal, those things are equal, then also he is saying that it is unequal. So that means it is a manufacturer's risk. The type 2 error is inverse of type 1 error. It is when alternate is true but we fail to reject null. That means we are not rejecting null. That means we are moving ahead with null. That means though alternate is true but we are going with null hypothesis. This is also called false negative, and here a popularly known statement is that a criminal is sent out of the jail. That means he was a criminal, but in the beginning the null hypothesis was he is an innocent. So we went ahead with null hypothesis, that we realized the false realization that he is an innocent person. So we are sending him out of the jail. A criminal is sent out of the jail. So that means the type 2 error is an error when there was a difference. The alternate hypothesis must be true, was true, but we are going with the null hypothesis. So this is called type 2 error, and this is also popularly known as consumer's risk, because consumer is at stake because of this error. So it is a consumer's risk. The probability of making type 2 error is called beta. So this type 1 is alpha and type 2 is beta, and 1 minus beta is called power. This power is very important when we want to detect the difference in the samples, how much difference we want to detect. So this power tells us the sample size, how much sample we must take during the data collection. So this sample size will be sufficient or not to detect the difference which we want to realize, we want to understand for the decision making. So this power decides the sample size. So this is one of the important things. So there are three things out of these type 1 and type 2 error is coming. One is the significance level, second is the confidence level, and third is the power. These three things are coming out of the type 1 and type 2 error, and these three things will decide the testing, my hypothesis testing. Let's discuss one case study on hypothesis testing. Let's assume that somebody is throwing a statement on us that American men are taller than Chinese men. Here the population data is so large that I can't go and measure the height of each and every American and each and every Chinese man. It is next to impossible. And secondly, there is no data available as on date of each and every individual's height. So what to do in this case? Which method we should use? So here we should do the hypothesis testing. We must take the sample data for both American and Chinese men and then do the hypothesis testing on that. So here we can just observe that the height is a response, a Y measure, and it's a continuous type of data, and the factors are American men and Chinese men. These are the discrete type of data because it is two groups, two distinct categories are there. One is American, second one is Chinese. So this is a discrete type of data. And then there are certain things we should understand on this testing, and based on this Y measure and X factors we decide the type of hypothesis testing to be done on this data. So here in this example we take the sample data for both American men and Chinese men. We measure the height and then we do a hypothesis testing, and based on the hypothesis testing we make a statistical conclusion about the population. So we will just quickly go through the steps for hypothesis testing. The first thing is we must know about the response or output. We must know about the factors and we also call it inputs, and what type of data is that. Both response and factors means y and x. What are the type of data, whether it is a continuous type data or discrete type of data. If you remember, we discussed in DMake in my last video that continuous type of data is the data which we can measure, like length, weight and time. So these are continuous type of data, we can measure it. And the second one is discrete type of data. Discrete type of data is the one like okay, not okay, yes, no. So this is the data which is making some categories, like in case of pizza there was two pizza brands, so brand A, brand B, there may be brand C and D also. So these are the distinct categories, so these are the discrete type of data. So normally we must be aware in the beginning that what are the response y and x and what are the type of data. If we don't know these y, x and type of data, then we can't move ahead for the hypothesis testing. The step one is the selection of the type of test. So based on the y and x and based on the type of data, whether it is continuous or discrete, and how many factors are there, 1, 2, 3, 4. So based on these things we decide what type of test we are going to do on these sample data which are there for the x factor. We just saw in our above case study that our y measure is height, and this is a continuous type of data. So we have just summarized the things here. The height is a continuous type of data. Input factors are discrete type because there are two categories, Americans and Chinese, and there are two groups, American and Chinese, there are two groups. So based on this information there is a subcategories we have to make based on the y data, which is a continuous data. So decide whether the data is normally distributed or not normally distributed. If the data is normally distributed, there are two types of tests we do. One is the F test, which compares the variances or standard deviation of heights in the two distinct categories, which are Americans and Chinese. And for comparing the averages, means the average of the heights, so there is a test called two sample t-test, which compares the average height of Americans versus average height of Chinese. So these two tests we do only when my data is normally distributed, and this data is for y measure. Y measure is height. Height is a continuous type of data. So based on the y measure, whether it is continuous, and on continuous whether it is normally distributed or not. If suppose it is not distributed normally, then there is a type of test available which is called Mann and Whitney test, and this compares the median of the two groups. In case of normal distribution, we will do the comparison of averages and comparison of standard deviation or variances. But in case it is not normally distributed, we will do Mann and Whitney, which compares the median of the two groups. Once we decide the type of test out of these three tests, F test, two sample t test and Mann and Whitney test, so once we are through that, okay, this one test or these two tests are suitable for my data, we move ahead and we decide the null and alternate hypothesis based on the above data. And this null and alternate hypothesis is based on the business case scenario. So what is that? So this is null hypothesis and this is alternate hypothesis. Null hypothesis is also called as HO. We also call it HO and HA. So HO is null hypothesis and HA is alternate hypothesis. So null is the hypothesis of equality. So we will say here that variances are equal. And in alternate we will say the variances are not equal. Similarly for averages, in null hypothesis we will describe it as equal averages of both Americans and Chinese. And in alternate hypothesis we will describe it as not equal. The next step is determining the significance and confidence level and power. So what's that? It is, we just discussed above that confidence level is 1 minus alpha. Alpha is the probability of type 1 error and alpha is called the significance level. So this is the first things we decide, what is the confidence level and what is the significance level for my test. And next comes the power. Power is 1 minus beta, where beta is the probability of type 2 error. So this power, as I said earlier, that it is very, very important when we discuss about the discrimination or difference my sample data can visualize, can interpret after my testing. So what kind of difference my sample data, my hypothesis testing will show it to me. Once the results are there, the differentiation it can predict in the testing. So this power is very, very important when it comes to the knowing the difference. Here we can say that power value informs us about the required sample size for desired difference. So what's that? Suppose, let's take an example. In the above case study which we just discussed about height of American man and Chinese man, just for an understanding, we just assume that American men are of 72 inches and Chinese men are 70 inches. So there is a difference of 2 inches. And in another case, let's assume that Chinese men are 71 inches and American men are 72 inches. So in the first case the difference was of 2 inches and the next case the difference is of 1 inches. So when we want to compare the difference of 2 inches, then we have to take lesser amount of sample size. Suppose if we want to check minute differences like for 1 inch here, then we need to take more samples. More samples means more power is required. So if we go further, suppose in extreme case, let's assume that the Chinese men are of 4 feet height, that means 12 forja 48 inches, and American men are 72 inches, means 6 feet height. So 4 feet and 6 feet, we will say forget about sample data, forget about hypothesis, we don't need any testing. We can simply decide that Chinese men are very, very less height as compared to American men. So in that case we don't even require the sample data. That means no sample is required. So this way we can just understand that if we want to check minute comparisons, minute difference we want to see, then we require more number of samples, and for large comparison we require lesser number of samples. A general thumb rule for significance level, which is also called alpha, is normally we take it 5%. Confidence, which is 1 minus alpha, is 95%, and power we generally take it 90%. But again, case to case, study to study, based on the type of business scenario, based on the type of things we are doing the study, it will differ. Suppose in case of medical experiments, the confidence level is different, it is of a higher level. Similarly, power is also of higher level. But in case we go to the normal manufacturing sector, it may be lesser, it may be only 95% and 90%. So case to case it will differ, but a general thumb rule is 95% confidence and 90% power. So once the test is done based on the confidence level, power, significance level and type of test which we decided earlier, we perform the hypothesis test. And this hypothesis test gives us some p-values. What are these p-values? These p-values are the actual probability of type 1 error based on the test. The actual test we performed. What is the actual type 1 error I am getting out of the hypothesis test? So this is called a p-value, and our hypothesis test result throws us out a p-value. If you are doing the hypothesis test in Minitab, my testing result will give me a p-value, and this p-value is a deciding factor for the result. So we use the p-values to make an inference out of the hypothesis testing, and this is if my p-value is greater than the significance level. Significance level, I said earlier that it is normally 5%, so 0.05. So if my p-value is greater than 0.05, then I will say that I will go with the null hypothesis. That means my null hypothesis is suitable for me. I am going with null hypothesis. But in case my p-value is lesser than significance level, it is lesser than 0.05. So if my p-value is lesser than 0.05, I will go with the alternate hypothesis. I will decide that statistically my inference is that my alternate hypothesis is suitable for me. So I will go with the alternate hypothesis. So based on the p-value, I will decide whether I have to go with the null hypothesis or I have to go with the alternate hypothesis. So this is the decision which decides that which one is my critical factor. So if the p-value is lesser than the significance level and I am going with the alternate hypothesis, that means the factor was critical. That means that is impacting my result. If I am going with null hypothesis, that means it is the hypothesis of equality. So equality means it was not significant, it was not critical. So the factor will be only critical when my p-value will be lesser than the significance level. If it is lesser than the 0.05 as a thumb rule, then that factor will be critical for me. So in this way, the whole hypothesis testing finally gives me a validated X factor, that this is impacting my Y measure. What is my Y measure? Y measure is the response, the output of my process. I hope you have understood the various things related to hypothesis testing. Thank you.